Over the years, Shaka Hislop, when I've asked you to look into your crystal ball, you've had a fair bit of success in predicting outcomes and a fair bit of failure. So I'm going to ask you to do it again. And before we get to the individual ties in the Europa League, the second leg ties, who do you think the final is going to be contested by?
Oh, goodness me. I'm going to be unashamedly biased and say West Ham somehow get to the final. And then in the other, I think that is equally difficult to call. I'd love to see Rangers in there. But coming into these semi-finals, I thought RB Leipzig was the best of the four teams still left in the competition. Narrow lead from the first leg, going back to Glasgow. I wouldn't have predicted that, which is why I'm just leaning Rangers in as being the other finalists.
So you think Rangers against West Ham and no bias whatsoever?
Well, half a bias. Can we go with that?
Okay. Yeah, maybe. West Ham. They go to Germany on the back of a disappointing result, it has to be said, in the first leg. What do they need to do better, Shaka, to have that chance of getting through to the final?
Play better. let me just say this, right? As I say, I'm unashamedly biased as far as West Ham and wanted to see them in the final. But I cannot help but think back to the previous round against Lyon, where the first leg at London Stadium was a draw 1-1, and Lyon absolutely battered West Ham. I thought Lyon were by far the better of the two teams. Should have been 3 or 4 up, but left the door open just for West Ham. And then Lyon started better in the second leg, and then West Ham got the goal and just romped away with it. And playing on the road certainly seemed to serve West Ham a whole lot better. And that is why I am not at all writing West Ham off in this second leg. Yes, they lost the first leg, so at least there's that additional hill to climb, so to speak. But I thought Lyon were far better than Eintracht Frankfurt. And if West Ham could go to Lyon and win in the manner that and they did, play in the manner that they did, I see absolutely no reason why they don't go to Frankfurt and do similarly. I just feel that this team, David Moyes, now has had a good look at the opponent firsthand, knows what needs to be done, and West Ham have proven to be better on the road, certainly in the latter stage of this competition, where there's so little between the two teams, as you would expect. From the time you start talking round of 16, you expect there to be close ties. Excuse me, West Ham have certainly fared well on the road with their counter-attacking style, with the strength and pace of Michael Antonio and his ability to lead the line, with Bowen and the way he arrives late, with Souček and how he contributes. So I am quietly hopeful that West Ham get the job done.
The one thing I love, especially about this tie, Shaka, is it's two teams that even domestically haven't had that much success. So we've seen what it means to them. 30,000 plus Eintracht fans leaving Frankfurt to go to Barcelona. And they had so many in London as well, albeit not as many got tickets. But just how excited West Ham fans have been on this journey. And it's kind of accentuated and increased as the tournament has gone on, because neither West Ham fans nor Eintracht Frankfurt fans are that used to certainly recent success, and what an opportunity it is for their clubs and for them to be just 90 minutes potentially away from silverware.
That's absolutely correct. Listen, just kind of gauging the atmosphere in East London ahead of that first semi-final. The fans were excited beyond belief and beyond reason, in all honesty. But as you say, they have been starved of success domestically or indeed in Europe. And you see what it means to them. We had Archie Ring Tut on FC immediately after that first leg. And he was a little bit surprised. He felt that the atmosphere was nowhere as great as he was expecting at the London Stadium. And I think that was a sense of concern maybe from West Ham fans, given the start to the game that Eintracht Frankfurt had, and that they may have been kind of reliving that, as I mentioned, that previous leg against Lyon, where Frankfurt were just by far the better of the two teams. So that was a little bit of a surprise, kind of gauging the atmosphere coming into the game outside of the stadium from the West Ham fans. So we'll see how that kind of pans out in terms of the traveling support. We know exactly what you're going to get in Frankfurt from the Eintracht fans when we're there. They have traveled well. They have at home. They've shown up in numbers and loud numbers as well. So we know what it's going to look like. So it's up to West Ham on the day to quiet that fan base to somehow get by that emotion, which, as I mentioned before, they managed to do previously.
Speaking of trying to quieten a fan base, that's quite the job that RB Leipzig have got at Ibrox, because a Rangers European night, a Scottish European night, whether it's Celtic Rangers, Celtic Park or Ibrox, when it means something. I know you guys always have a go, you and the rest of the mobs, oh, Scottish football, this. Look, a European night in a Scottish ground at this stage can be rather boisterous. How big a part do the Rangers fans have to play in this game against RB Leipzig?
Well, I go back to how close this competition is once you get to the round of 16. And I look at the previous round against Braga, where Rangers down 1-0 in the first leg, go back to Ibrox. Okay, Braga have a man sent off in the first half, and Rangers take it to extra time and win it. And we know about Scottish fans, the Glasgow fans in particular, and how they show up and the noise that they make. And again, with so much at stake, with a European final, 90 minutes potentially away, 120, that's what it may take, as it did in the previous round. We know those fans will be there for the full 120. They'll be heard for the full 120. And absolutely right that they show up and they are as passionate as they are about this competition and their team and how far they've gone. But coming into this, as I mentioned, at the semi-final stage, I thought RB Leipzig were the favourites. They've now lost their last two league games, one to Union Berlin, who they beat previously in the cup, and then I think Mönchengladbach most recently. But that's not very different from what you've seen from the others. I just feel that when you're a club at this stage of the competition, when you're not competing for honours, and I know it's Rangers, though trailing Celtic by somewhere, probably won't catch them. For everybody else, they've been out of any kind of title race and top four race for some time. Well, saying that Leipzig just dropped out of the top four in the Bundesliga. So you understand why league form kind of dips somewhat, and you don't read too much into it. But if you're Rangers and you see it, you see now RB Leipzig lose their last two league games as they did. Their last league loss was a couple of months ago, and that was against Bayern Munich. No shame there. You feel encouraged by that, and you're looking for the slightest incentive, slightest reason to give you renewed belief going into this important tie. And I think Leipzig has given them that. At the same time, how quickly do Leipzig put those two losses? How quickly do they put dropping out to the top four behind them going into this one, where so much is at stake, particularly, and in Leipzig's case, Champions League football, when you're the favourites and all of a sudden you drop out of the top four in your domestic league.
And the other thing is, Shaka, Rangers have kind of enjoyed the role of underdogs in the knockout stage of this competition this season, especially that game against Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a shock that was. So write them off at your peril. I certainly won't.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.